To our next lesson in ethical issues in the professions and business. As you can see today, I'm supporting the Tigers very nicely. I hope my mic doesn't go funky now, but I've got my Tiger hat on and I'm ready to roar with you all today. So let's get busy on our next lecture, and I'm going to take off my hat because it's just weird to teach in a hat. And so, how does my hair look, Jordan? All right, then I'm ready to go. So welcome, Tigers from near and far and all over the world. Today we'll start our lecture with a nice close-up of the Sandia Mountains. So Jordan and I live in Albuquerque, and we have a wonderful view of the Sandia mountain range. And Sandia means watermelon in Spanish. And it is clear from the picture here that why they have named the mountains the Sandias, because when the sun hits them they turn a nice watermelon color. And many moons ago I knew the Chinese word for watermelon, and I think it's Shikwa, something like that. All you people who know out there can send me an email and tell me the correct pronunciation, but that's the best I can do this afternoon. So we'll take the Sandias away, and we'll all remember their beauty and peacefulness as we move on to our lesson here. Today now we're going to move from our questions, just general questions about ethical issues in the professions and business. What is a profession? How do we make ethical decisions? And just our basics of what does a person look like who lives and leads with integrity, on to professional conduct. You recall we left off with Aristotle's 4 causes for professional misconduct, personal misconduct actually, and the 4 cures of be gone, be strong, and be long, which actually are only 3 cures, but it covers all 4 of the causes. So now we're going to move into what is it like to be a professional who is living and leading with integrity. By way of background, I'm just going to mention that when we practice as professionals, we'll enter into a professional client relationship with each person we deal with. And there are a number of levels of professional and client relationship, and we're really just going to focus on one. There's a lot of different ones, but we're going to put our focus here, background-wise, on the fiduciary, whoa, that's an R, professional-client relationship. And we're doing this because in this relationship, it's preferred because it pulls upon the strengths of both the professional and client. It doesn't leave out the client directing and having authority and responsibility in the outcome, and it calls upon the professional's expertise and skill, which is why a client comes to a professional. As we recall from our very first question, what is a professional? They have that knowledge, they have expertise, they have resources. We kick in the oh-no rule. The client comes with needs, and that is how we have professionals who have obligations to clients out in the world. And that is going to be the focus of our lecture today, rather our lesson today, what are the professionals' obligations to clients. And there are 7. Those are posted on the lesson on our course site, and we'll just get going and talk about them in order. Let me erase this so I have a little more room. Whoa, it doesn't want to erase. I'll tell you, we live in the high desert here in Albuquerque, and it's quite dry, and so even my dry eraser is too dry to erase the board today. That tells you a little something about living in the high desert. Beautiful, but dry. So, the first obligation a professional has to a client is honesty. This board likes to move around. Now this is pretty much an obvious one. You are obligated to tell your client the truth and not tell them lies. You represent everything in an honest manner. The second one is kind of a long one. It'll take me a minute to write. Too bad we don't have that picture of the Sandias back. Non-maleficence. It's just fun to use the big words sometimes, folks. And that basically means do, no, whoops, that's not no, that's not, do no harm. And that's a pretty obvious one. I mean, as a teacher, certainly I don't want to do any harm to my students. Doctors don't want to do any harm, doctors and nurses in particular. Any of you who are EMTs, that's one of your guiding mottos in your profession is to do no harm. So you practice non-maleficence, and that's just fun. You can pull that out and impress your friends the next time you're out. Say, oh, well, I like to practice non-maleficence, and they'll say, what's that? And you say, well, I do no harm to others. The third obligation a professional has to their client is to be competent. None of us want to go to a professional who doesn't have knowledge and expertise, who doesn't work to maintain or increase their ability to give you the particular service. You don't want a doctor who isn't up on the latest diseases, who isn't up on the latest diagnoses, things like that. You don't want to come to a teacher who's still teaching things of old, so to speak, although today I've had plenty of old sayings, I realized, and I do have gray hair, but I try to remain competent, which means to maintain or increase my ability to provide professional service to you all as students. And also it has an added feature, so you want to increase your abilities, but you also have to be mindful of the limits of your abilities. So you don't want to take, for instance, projects or clients that you absolutely know you're not able to help or not able to assist. So you have to evaluate your own capabilities. You have to evaluate your own abilities under competence. The fourth one, obligation that, oops, that's supposed to be a D, that a professional has to the client is diligence, and that's pretty much a straightforward one too. It means doing your best for your clients. In other words, you don't want to have so many clients and spread yourself so thin that you can't do your best for any of them, or maybe just even some of them. So you have to be diligent in deciding what you can handle so that you can always give your best work to your clients. Number 5, and all I have room for at the moment here, is one that lots of people don't really think about nowadays, is loyalty. And that's just, as a professional, when you work for your clients, you're working in their best interest, not yours. You're not taking cases just to make money. You're not receiving clients and not just to further your own outcomes. And, oops, I think I wanted to add something there, but now I don't remember what it was. So basically in that sense, you're a professional who's representing the client, and you're interested in what's best for them and their interests, not furthering your own. I'm going to erase because I write really big, and now there's no room for the other 2, because we'll have 7 in all. So the number 6 obligation, and I'm going to make room for number 7 here, of a professional in a fiduciary relationship, the next obligation is fairness. And remember, we mentioned fairness earlier in our discussion about some of the characteristics in the snapshot of integrity a person with integrity has. So one of those characteristics was fairness. I think there were bravery, not courage, oh, humbleness, and fairness was one of those. And that's just simply being fair. Haha, that doesn't help, right? It's basically you're going to treat all of your clients equally. You're not going to do, for instance, do a better job for someone who's wealthier or more powerful or more influential than you will for the person who comes with a similar need but doesn't have a lot of money, power, or influence. So from a teaching aspect, I practice fairness. It's an obligation I have to you students, and I practice that by treating you all equally. You all have the same grading scale. I grade all your papers equally, and so that's how a teacher can do that. I can respond to your emails all the same. And the last one, which certainly comes up in this day and age, is confidentiality, more so than others, because in order to fulfill your obligation of being confidential, you must keep your client's information private. That means, first of all, in this day and age, you need to make sure your computer files are secure so that people cannot access the information, so you need to control your client's information. Certainly psychologists, it's very obvious, they don't go out and share what's told in the clinical room. A doctor doesn't talk about other patients' conditions and stuff with other people. And so you don't talk about it, but you also make sure it's secure. Whether you're in a file cabinet, it should be locked and secured somehow, or whether your files are on a computer. It is your obligation as a professional to keep your client's information all private. So those are our 7 obligations of professionals to clients that we've talked about today. Honesty, you can think about them also as traits of a person with integrity. You should be honest. You should do no harm to others. You need to be competent. You need to be diligent. You need to be loyal. You need to be fair. And you need to be confidential. In other words, discreet. So we add these as our movement into professional conduct, but also as a way to have a personal moment of reflection here on those 7. Do the same thing that we did before. Do you possess these characteristics? Are you honest? Are you competent in your work? Whatever you do. Go through those 7 and say, if I'm a person living and leading with integrity, if I'm a professional out in the world seeing clients and fulfilling the oh no rule, having the opportunity to provide the needs that the client has, so therefore I'm obligated, do I possess these particular character traits so that I can do a good job for them? Are you strong in some of them? Are you really honest? But maybe you think, well, sometimes you're not so diligent. Look at them all, see where you line up with them, and if there are some you need to improve on, there you go. And we'll be putting these 7 into our ethical toolbox, and we add them there because being a person with integrity would involve all of these as well. So that's I think perhaps my final lesson with you all. Jordan and I have had an enjoyable time presenting information to you all, and I look forward to getting emails and feedback from you on this. And so, again, from Albuquerque, Jordan and I bid you adios.